Are birthmarks and marks echoes from past lives? What do Buddhism and science say? Have you ever wondered why you have a birthmark on your body? Have you ever felt different, like a part of yourself cannot be changed? And could there be a deeper reason for these physical imperfections? Certainly, we've all encountered things we cannot explain. But what if those marks aren't just random? Could they be connected to something that happened in the past, perhaps even from a past life? Today, we will explore the story of Sarah, a young woman, and her journey of understanding the birthmark on her body. Not only from a scientific perspective, but also from a spiritual perspective in Buddhism. This story is not just about a birthmark, it's about the journey to find self-acceptance, and understanding about karma, and reincarnation. Sarah was born with a large birthmark on her face, right under her chin. This was not a small mark but a dark red patch, that stood out against her fair skin. From an early age, Sarah felt different from her peers. The kids at school often teased her, and each time this happened, the pain in Sarah's heart grew stronger. She felt like the birthmark was something that made it impossible for her to fit in, to be herself. She began asking, "Why do I have this birthmark? Why am I different?" Sarah grew up with feelings of insecurity, constantly worried about the looks and words of others. But one day, an unexpected encounter changed everything. One afternoon, while wandering through a meditation cafe near the downtown area, Sarah happened to meet an older man, Thamin, a Buddhist monk. Seeing the worry in Sarah's eyes, Thamin smiled and invited her to sit. After Sarah shared her feelings of self-doubt, and her concerns about the birthmark on her face, Thamin began to tell a story from his own life. "You know, in my monastic life, I have faced many challenges. One of the biggest challenges was facing the impermanence of life. All that we see, all that we think is permanent, including the birthmark on your body, are things that will change over time." Thamin continued, "Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is impermanent, and acceptance is the key to overcoming hardships. Your birthmark may be a sign of karma from a past life, but you don't need to worry. You can change your karma, find peace in your heart, and transform what has happened. Only when you understand that change is inevitable, will you be able to free yourself from the wounds of the soul." Sarah sat quietly, reflecting on what Thamin had said. She decided to look into the birthmark from a scientific perspective. She visited a dermatologist, and the doctor explained that her birthmark was a type of hemangioma, an abnormal growth of blood vessels under the skin. Although this birthmark typically poses no harm, and fades over time, it still made Sarah feel self-conscious about her appearance. However, a special shift happened after hearing Thamin's story. Sarah began to see the issue in a new light. She understood that, while science can explain the physical cause of the birthmark, Buddhism brings a spiritual depth. That the birthmark may not just be an abnormal growth of blood vessels, but karma from actions in a past life. In Buddhism, karma is the total of all our actions, words, and thoughts in this life and in previous lives. Thamin was right. This birthmark might be a sign of the karmic consequences Sarah created in a past life. But she didn't need to fear it, because karma can be changed through virtuous actions and spiritual practice. No karma is fixed. It is the compassionate actions in this life that can help you change your fate. Spiritual research on birthmarks and past lives. Many spiritual researchers and clairvoyants believe that birthmarks or birth scars can be traces of certain significant events or actions from past lives. Practitioners of spiritual medicine often believe that these marks can be signs of a painful death, or an important event in a previous life, such as injury or sacrifice in a war. These marks may appear in special areas of the body, such as the face or neck. A notable example is Dr. Ian Stevenson's research, a renowned researcher in the field of past lives. He found that many children, in the process of recalling past lives, pointed to birthmarks or wounds corresponding to painful events in past lives. These marks were closely tied to karma, and the events from their previous lives. Sarah realized that, like the Buddha in the story, the birthmark was not a punishment or a sign of imperfection. It was simply a mark of karma, but also an opportunity for her to transform karma, live a life full of compassion, virtue, and practice. With the combination of science and Buddhism, Sarah began to change the way she viewed her birthmark. She no longer felt self-conscious about it, but instead, learned to accept and love herself more. She realized that, while the birthmark could be a sign of karma from a past life, it did not define her worth. What mattered more was how she lived, acted, and practiced in this life. Sarah began practicing meditation daily, and gradually, she felt her soul becoming lighter. She knew that life is impermanent, and the birthmark was just a small part of a long journey to practice, transform karma, and seek enlightenment. The birthmark on Sarah's face and neck was no longer something she had to worry about. Instead, it was a sign of karma from a past life, but also an opportunity for her to transform karma through compassionate actions, virtue, and practice. Life is impermanent, and only when we learn to accept ourselves, can we live a meaningful and peaceful life. If you also have physical marks like birthmarks or other imperfections, don't let them define your worth. Self-acceptance and loving yourself are the keys to finding peace in your heart. Let's practice together and transform karma, to live a fuller life.